Yo, how's it going, folks? Welcome to episode 157 of the Simpa Life Podcast. I hope you're keeping well. Hope you've had a wonderful week. We are officially in autumn. That's right, the leaves are turning brown, trees are getting naked. Yeah, it's going to be a fun time of year. I'm trying desperately to not complain of the weather here. I'm just commenting on the fact that we've changed season. Obviously, as you'll probably be aware, now every popular white girl that you know is drinking pumpkin spice. So yeah, that's going to be what we're dealing with the next month. Everybody dressing up and Halloween and all that good stuff. So we do have some good fun in October, really. It just gets very dark and dreary, and I'm mentioning the fucking weather already. All right, moving on, folks. Good few bits of news, but I think today's guest is going to be a good person to cover them with. Obviously, ongoing strife and conflict in the world. I think we're an inch closer to World War III by the looks of it right now. As of recording of this, we're not at war yet, although we are technically helping out. So God knows what the hell's going to happen. Yeah, getting very close, very close. So we may be back next week with another podcast. We may be getting subscripted into war. Who knows? We will find out in due course. Anyway, let's have a bit more fun and a bit more of a chill conversation with today's guest, who is a British content creator, cannabis product reviewer, and cannabis community influencer. They are Doctor Denz. How are you doing, brother?
How are you doing, Simpa? You well, sir? You good?
I'm all right. Like I said, watching the news the past couple of days, I'm a little bit like, whoa, fucking hell, fucking
We're
hell.
getting close. I'm not going to like situations that we don't really want to be in. We've been in very close to these American and Iranian proxy wars. But now the proxy wars are now starting to get dangerous. I mean, they have 2006, they did exchange missiles, but not to this extent. So
Yeah.
fingers crossed for every single one of us, people.
Indeed, indeed. The only people that are happy at this work at Lockheed and Raytheon and those kind of motherfuckers are woke up this morning very rich.
All your political wankers will be loving such things. They'll be
Uh,
loving it.
Yeah, your ideologues, the Zionists of all ilks. It's yeah, it's getting a bit crazy. But anyway, we wanted to have some nice, fun, light-hearted conversation today.
Yeah,
If it,
yeah.
even
Nice
if,
times.
indeed, indeed. So I guess for people that are not kind of in the UK scene or not aware of, I hate the term influencer. I think it's become so corrupted over time. But what I mean by that is kind of people of influence rather than people trying to influence, I guess. So for people that don't know, how and when did you get involved in the UK cannabis scene?
The UK cannabis scene as a whole, or the cannabis scene. Now, I've been smoking cannabis for going on 39 years now. I'm going to say something like that. I started when I was a wee bean, a young lad at school around back to back sheds and things like that with old Moroccan soap bars and various Lebaneses and things like that on can pipes. Really healthy smoking for back in them days. But yeah, that's when I started. Now the influencing again, not the influencing. Even though I do influence, I've got to be true to myself. I do, I suppose, influence people to smoke fine herbs and fine medicines. So I suppose in that sense it does influence. But let's say out to the public, I've come out to the public and started doing my YouTube channel and my various things. It's nearly 8 years ago now,
Oh,
and it's that time has flown. To be truthful, it really has. Um, I have had a bit of a break. I'm going to say nearly 2 years out. I've got a bit downhearted when YouTube started shutting everybody down and age restricting everybody, and I just thought we were fighting against, like every fucking other regime, we were fighting against another regime, another hierarchy that were trying to put us down. So I got a bit disheartened with it all, to be truthful, and I come out of it. But just this year, I miss the scene. It is a good scene, and we are so lucky to live and be a part of what's going on in the UK and in Wonderland, as I call it. I think we're really lucky to be a part of it, you know what I mean? And I wanted to be a part of it again. So I've started my channel up again. And luckily for me, it's doing great, absolutely great. So thumbs up and happy days I am.
excellent, excellent. Yeah, I think I had a quite similar thing this year in terms of the club stuff and the events, and I had a few years off. Like COVID just shattered the community. We
Correct
we
me.
yeah, we lost our funds because our website and all our other outgoing bills just ticked over and the club funds just kind of
Yeah,
ran off.
disappeared.
We didn't renew memberships because I felt terrible asking people for money when we lawfully couldn't get together. Not that that would stop us, but our venue had gone under and we couldn't offer the same service and interaction and socialization that we could before. And then it was actually on this podcast. It was in a conversation with Michael Fisher from Teesside. And I just kind of went, fuck it. We'll do
I
Durham.
know, man. I know, man.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
gonna go back. We're gonna
Well,
go back.
we did Durham 420, and the police's response, the community's response, and everybody has just been wow. And it's just been like, okay, we've got no choice now. This is where we're at, what we want to be doing. It's like you said, it's such a unique space. And I think the issue I'm finding this year is partially, I think, because of the law change in 2018 and this kind of artificial division of medical recreational, that there's a lot more not good actors in the space.
Yeah,
A lot of the good actors were caught out in stings and operations like that, were screwed over by less than decent characters in the scene.
definitely, definitely.
And I think we're a bit few on numbers on the ground right now, but I think it's exactly what you're doing by being public and by putting out these videos and showing this content and showing what the world is what we are. It helps to demystify and take away a lot of the stigma, so new people can feel attracted to the space and get access to it, but also people that are fearful of us being these violent, vicious criminals and just
Yeah,
can see it and go, oh, it's a bunch of potheads in a field. They're selling weed to each other. They're entrepreneurs. They're building their
I,
brands. You know what I mean?
I giggled to myself. I've just been to a cannabis event this weekend, or last weekend, should I say? And I giggled to myself when we sat talking, and I sit and talk with people. And if people could hear some of the conversations that is being had at these events, we're talking about cakes. We're talking about making it. And I said, if people actually heard what we're talking about and realised that we're not just a bunch of criminals out to make money, and we do care about people, we do care about people's well-being and wealth and everything else, you know what I mean? So if people could actually hear what was going on in our minds and a lot of people's minds, I think they'd see it a little bit different, wouldn't they? They would see it a bit different.
100%, 100%. Like I said, I've spoke of it many times before on the podcast that the suppression of the ways in which our culture manifests is detrimental to everybody. The creativity, the passion, there's well, I'll use Instagram handles by everybody, obviously trying to keep everybody safe here, but like somebody like RSO, SOS, what I mean, the way that he's scaled up in his branding and the way that he's moving, that you don't think, well, that's there, that to them that's still drug dealing, and you'd still God touch fucking all the wood, but bless if he ever got fucking caught, the Daily Mail headline would be drug dealer disguises cannabis as kids sweets or something absurd.
Some shit.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's so the difference between the perception versus what it is. Like you said,
instead of thinking young man provides CBD to poorly people, instead of saying it like it is, they'll twist it. They twist it. You know what I mean? But we know that, and luckily, people who are watching this podcast, this video, will surely, hopefully, see beyond the corruption of what's out there. You know what I mean? The bollocks that's being spoken out there in every form of life, not just cannabis. In every walk of life, you're just being told utter shit, basically.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I think most people who then come to content produced by yourself or I would have already some basic surface awareness of what the kind of the culture is, the community in a loosest term is, kind of what the events are and how we kind of operate as a scene. And I think we're stuck between wanting to honestly depict and show, like I said, the creativity, the uniqueness of who we are and what we do, with also trying to keep each other and ourselves safe. Because as you say, there is this bullshit. I mean, it's the banality of cannabis, I think, is proven by the fact that there are these events in these culture. For all I am pro the decriminalization of all drugs, no other drug has the kind of culture and movement and almost quasi acceptance in society. Like most people joke about it, and there's music, there's films. You've got people like Cheech and Chong for decades have been
since the 70s. I mean, the thing that makes me laugh is that the hypocritical government and the hypocritical world that we live in nowadays is that cannabis throughout is being made legal all over the place now. South America, Central America, North America, Europe, all over Africa. It's happening all over the place. Now, England, Britain, Wonderland are the biggest exporters of cannabis in the world. But yet they tell their own people that they've not researched it enough to give it us. So they're speaking bullshit to somebody. They're either, all these people that they're selling it to, they're either speaking shit to them or they're speaking shit to us. So they're one or the other. But
yeah.
I can see what's going on now. Now, I'm a big advocate of decriminalization rather than legalization.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want legalization. Now, the reason why I do want legalization, obviously. I want people to be able to go freely, to be able to do what they want. But the devious bastards that are in control of this legalization are not going to legalize it like people want it legalizing. You're not going to be going to a dispensary. This is for us in the UK. Mm. I don't believe that we'll be going to dispensaries. I don't believe that we'll be able to grow 5 plants to ourselves. I don't believe we'll be able to self-medicate. I believe the government is doing what they're doing now with medical cannabis, giving it out there in different ways so they can still control it. And I think that is the be-all and end-all, which obviously, I mean, I'd be naive to think that the government didn't want to control it, didn't want the money off it, and didn't want the profits off it. Of course they do. That's all governments do. That's all governments want, is to take every single bit of your money in some way, form or other. So it doesn't shock me that they want full control over this beautiful plant. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a fucked situation. I mean, to go back to one of your earlier points, I think Canada now quite strongly surpasses us in terms of size of exportation. Prior to basically, like 2018 and was it 2016 Canada went? There's so many dates in my head right now. Yeah, but in the past sort of 10 years, we've seen this cascading event where the UK has fallen from being the global exporter to now obviously we're building to become quite a large importer. There are a few projects of domestic cultivation and production that are happening in the UK, but as you said, that's prescription via private clinics only. I think you hit the nail on the head. It's basically that they're not technically lying. It's manipulation of language. Like, they are clever with the way that they do this. So cannabis in and of itself is legal everywhere across the planet. It cannot be illegal. Because
it's a plant.
Exactly, it's a benign object. So what they do is they criminalize our actions with it. So cops walk into a room and there's weed in a room and they can't prove possession, then the weed is just taken away and nobody's guilty. But the cannabis then can't remain because then it would have to default into the possession or care of one of the other people, and that's not allowed. So the cop uses his exemption under the law to take that product away and is supposed to then fill in a nice little piece of paper. It goes to a thing and eventually gets incinerated. We obviously know about diversion, all that other bullshit. But like you said, they've created this lie over years where it started with people like Peter Tosh and Bob Marley and that kind of generation of reggae dancehall musicians that start talking about legalize it. And what they meant is, under the classic parlance in the dictionary, which is legalizes to make something previously illegal legal.
Yeah.
And they were singing of the actions, legalize our actions with cannabis. And the system came along and went, oh, okay, we'll trick them into this lie of going, it's illegal everywhere and you have to ask us to make it legal. And once you do, we've then been given your permission and discretion to create new laws and restrictions around an object that didn't have those things and shouldn't have those things according to the structure of our law and our ethics. And so we've been manipulated into fighting for it. And then they've done the same, as you say, with decriminalization. They've come along and then gone, oh, what we're doing is decriminalization pilots where we'll decriminalize small amounts of possession in various regions. Not production, not socialization, not sale, not all of the other proliferal activities.
Not decriminalized at all.
Exactly. So they can then prove and point to it and go, well, look at all the problems that are still there. The problems are there because they've criminalized the actions. What I want is effectively what we did to homosexuality. It used to be criminalized that you could literally, 2 men holding hands, boom, police arrest those people. Yeah, exactly. Whereas now there is no invasion of sexual spaces, or it's not supposed to be. Under the Equalities Act, you can be sued for it. So I want the same for then cannabis. If somebody's consuming cannabis and is protected under the Equalities Act because they've got a magic piece of paper, all cannabis should be protected.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
and that's where I argue, but the sentence isn't as sexy. It doesn't work as well in marketing of going legalize it versus decriminalize all cannabis related offenses. But that's what it is in law in terms of then when you go in the courtroom and you fight this shit, they talk about lawful and unlawful, not legal, illegal. So they
No,
know their language, but they have this poker face and marketing and buzzwords
clever,
that they
it's
say in the media.
clever political jargon. That's what it
100%.
is. It's
Yeah.
jargon. It's just bullshit terminology that they do in every walk of society. They word things. They're clever. I suppose this is why it is what they are. The political people, and they know how to bend words, manipulate circumstances for their benefit, not for our benefit. If anybody out in this world thinks for one reason that the governments are working for your health or benefit, then I'm sorry to say you're very, very misleaded. Because there is no government, there is no NHS, there's no doctors, there's no people out there. Well, there is doctors out there, I shouldn't say that, of course there is. There's nice people in every walk of life. But their agenda is to control every single bit of you. That is what this world's become, which is a very, very, very sad state of affairs. But it's gone beyond cannabis. Cannabis is just a byproduct of what's going on in society, really.
I think the war on cannabis consumers and like the war on drugs as a larger concept is an insight into how all of this happened. That prior to this, it would never be thought of. I mean, granted, you can go back and you can use a sensationalist, hyperbole view of history to prove kind of anything, but it.
36 in America, 1936 or something like that.
1937 was the Marijuana with a H Tax Act.
The marijuana. I fucking hate saying the word marijuana.
But it started prior to that, I guess, in the US in 1906 with the Pure Food and Drug Safety Act.
Yeah, 1913 I've got in my head for some reason. 1913. Did that happen over here? Was it here?
Was 1913 the Harrison Tax Act?
I can't remember. I've just got it in my head somehow.
I think the earliest account that I could find in terms of the modern sense of one group of individuals prohibiting access to cannabis in a society is Mauritius in late 1830s, early 1840s, when we ran the islands in terms of the British Empire.
Mauritius, this is Mauritius there.
Yeah, and the language that was put into that was interesting of the smoking of this herb makes the workers lethargic, and it makes it so that they become rebellious, and they basically were saying that like they were smoking the weed and now they're not working as hard.
Yeah, we can't control them. We can't control them.
Exactly, and so it's then brought up ever since, like Napoleon when he fucking took over Egypt, or partially took over Egypt. He implemented a hashish ban for similar sorts of reasons. Again,
the assassins and all this business, wasn't it? We're all
there's a rich history of the cannabis being interwoven with things, because I mean the language again we're fucked with. They've tricked us, like you said, into going, well, there's one plant that was unified in I think 1753 by Carl L. Linnaeus, and he unified it as Cannabis sativa L with three subgenus being Cannabis indica, Cannabis ruderalis, and Cannabis sativa. Hemp has never fucking existed, yet they managed to trick us into going, well, this stringy, a different variety, which is actually just more of a distant cousin between ruderalis and sativa than it is more of the indica drug type that we see coming out of the East, which is the same plant that actually, if you plot it over 28 million years, which is about what they reckon how old it is. And I was looking at Pangea the other day because I was trying to prove something, and it makes sense as to why, if cannabis is only 28 million years ago, Pangea started breaking up like 150 million years ago, something like that. And the continent separation, it then took obviously for man, and you can see that, yes, man took it around the world, but once cannabis landed, it's a weed. Then through it escaping our grows, like we took it into Jamestown and in Virginia in America, and they then grew it in these settlements. But cannabis escapes. It literally it escapes. It'll seed here a little bit there. It gets out, it grows, and then it can sit dormant for decades. It rewilds. It'll go through generations, and because it's diatomaceous, She'll then self-hermy, create more seeds, go into the ground, wait for better conditions, produce again. After several generations, it becomes what we call like an heirloom. So it's not a land race, but it's established itself into that space. And so that's then happened over millennia. Because I mean, we've got evidence of the Vikings fucking around with cannabis.
Yeah, they
And
had
then
fucking hashish in their fucking pouches when they were buried, weren't they? And
with there's evidence of cannabis consumption in like in York from like the year 1100, something like that. It's
yeah.
and again, you're looking like Chinese. Granted, the Chinese reference is actually I found out not that long ago is based on the amalgamation of several historical figures. I can't remember the name of the character it's ascribed to, the individual. But basically, it's an amalgamation of loads of different stories. So it is to be taken as a historical reference per se, but not necessarily historic scientific reference, which is
Yeah,
what a
yeah,
lot of companies will reference it as. Like,
yeah.
like oh, in the year 2000 BCE, da 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 da. But yeah, like you say, it's historic use. It's been everywhere, and it's only really the past 150 years or so where a certain bunch of people went to another bunch of people. We don't like it. And again, that was nothing to do with the plant. It was
The
like I said,
biggest
that was the excuse to control the populace, and that's still happening now.
America, the maddest part of it, the word marijuana, again, the word marijuana, I don't like using the word marijuana because it's a government made up word to stop immigration,
Mm.
to try and quell immigration coming up from Southern America. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that they can actually use a plant as a way to manipulate popularity or people into thinking these other people that use this plant are bad people for using a plant. So it's a ludicrous thing, which we know. I mean, look at what goes on in this world.
It is. I mean, there's an interesting point to it of that where actually, yeah, I never really quite thought of this. So this might come out a bit clunky at first. There's probably a correlation that if you put the two things side by side between the prevalence of puritanical Christian denominations in Western nations and the rise of prohibition. And I do remember reading an account, and I can't find this for the life of me, so I'm going to reference it as more of a I read this one time rather than I can prove this. But I do recall reading an account of the Vatican exchanging a conversation with a diocese in Ireland talking about the restriction of consumption of mushrooms by the monks.
Well,
And
they want again.
sorry, but it was basically to argue was their thing is they are the way to God. You go to the church, they take you to God. You can't take a plant and go to God. That's evil. That means you're going to see the devil.
But yet, what were the church doing before all this? Before prohibition, they were making wine. They were fermenting wine. They were fermenting alcohol. The wine and the alcohol was being sold to the masses through the churches. So again, the masses, the churches were running and controlling things. They didn't want another substance to get you alleviated, to get you high, to get you feeling good, because they couldn't control it. It's a plant. You can grow it. So they can ferment the alcohol, they can make the wine, they can make the mead, they can make whatever they want. They can sell it to you. It's a commodity. The weed is not a commodity to them. They can't control it. So there's a lot of fucking corruption throughout thousands of years, hundreds of years, you know what I mean? Through the churches, through politicalness, through everything. Whoever's in charge at the time is usually corrupt, I would say.
Well, that's how you get in charge is by being corrupt. It's like that whole concept of you can't be a good billionaire. You know what I mean? It's because in doing so you starve thousands.
Yeah,
like, that's just how the math works. It's not a case that you've literally gone and punched a kid in the face. And
you're not a bastard,
but you perpetuate a cycle that causes those problems. Like you were saying before about the systems of. It doesn't matter how good your intentions are as an individual. Your humanity, once you go into a role, you are a cog within a larger machine. And if you try and break that machine, guess what? One of the engineers comes along and replaces your ass. They put in a cog that will work. And as you were saying before about like language, I mean, it's Eton. It's the one school in the UK that still teaches rhetoric. And rhetoric is the art of manipulation of language through emotional means. And so, yeah, of course they know how to spell and manipulate and trick us and go, well, we're saying this sentence, and in our language, it means this. But in their language, legally in the courtroom, it means this.
they've got to think them people that are in charge of us, them people that are not in charge of us, them people that are meant to be running this country, the people, the so-called powers of this world, have never, ever lived what we live. They have no idea whatsoever what it's like to be scrimping for the food or saving up. Not scrimping for food, fair enough. I mean, I'm not that. I've never been that bad, but saving up to take my family on holiday for one holiday a year. You know what I mean? They don't know. I'm not saying that's an hardship, but they don't know anything. They don't know. And I'm saying an holiday because an holiday is something we all like. It's a nice
It's a luxury.
Thing. Yeah, a luxury. Thank you. That's a word I'm looking for. It's a luxury. And I've completely this is one thing with being a pothead. I've completely forgot what we're going to go there. So
I think you're making valid points in terms of they've never wanted for anything. If they want something, they can just have it. And this has been proven in kind of the first 100 days of Keir Starmer's government with, what are they calling it? Is it Cashgate or whatever the hell? Like all the donation gate or something.
I fear for us. I really, really do. I fear for what's going to go on in the Western world now.
It's like you said, it's the model escalates every year. The problem is that their economics mean there is a smaller working class every year. So more people are closer to us in the lower end of society than they are in the top end. And they want that because that gives them the exclusive. That gives them the limited thing that they feel special. It strokes their fucking ego. It's everything they've been stoked to be since birth. Their preschooling, their private education, all of this. Where they were born, where they were raised up. Sorry, in terms of their postcode. All of this is set so that when they come into office, when they come into being a CEO, when they come into positions of power, they don't rock the boat. They protect what used to be middle class ideals. But now the game is they pick the cream of what used to be middle class, they run them through this private gambit, break them from that system, and they're perpetuating the stronghold of the upper elites.
Upper elites.
And basically, it's a case of play the fucking game while you're out on your arse, kids. You can either be broke and hustling with the rest of them, or we can give you ungodly wealth and stroke your ego. And the problem is that they don't see a problem with that. And the issue with humanity is most people would be corrupted by that. The system is set up that every decent folk that tries in this system gets fucked over. I mean, you might have your own opinion of whatever of someone like Jeremy Corbyn, but that motherfucker for 45 years was consistently who the fuck he was, got the marginalist chance to actually do something, and everybody on all sides attacked him. Everybody money attacked him because that was the first time that somebody that wouldn't be bought by, oh, here, come see Taylor Swift for a 10 grand ticket. Come this, you'd be like, no, I'm going to go take pictures of drain hole covers. We want the fucking nerds in charge, the boring people that can't be bought by cocaine and strippers and bullshit, you know?
The sad thing about this life, my dad has been a Labour councillor for years and years and years. He's now 86-year-old. He doesn't do it now, obviously. But I say to him, Dad, I said, I feel so sorry for somebody like yourself, for these little people that do care about society, that do care about the people that they live with, that do care about the towns and villages that they live in, but don't realise, I think they're more blinded than people like us. I mean, we're anarchists. Oh, I'm an anarchist anyway. I'm an anarchist. I don't believe in any fucking politics. I don't want no wank to fucking run me. I don't need them to run me. I can run myself quite comfortably. But I feel really sorry for people like my dad that have worked most of their life trying to get things good for communities, and then you've got these pompous pricks sat in these fucking higher echelons, sat giggling at them, laughing, fucked out of their mind on whatever fucking they're doing, partying while we're all locked up, and generally fucking taking the piss out of us. So I feel sorry for, you know, the councillors out there that care about the people, you know, who is good. The one thing, empathy. I am empathetic. I do have empathy for a lot of people. I do realise there's a lot of good out there in this society. The world's not shit. There is a lot of shit. If you want to watch shit, if you watch YouTube, just for instance, I tried the other day to delete all the bullshit channels that are going on my YouTube. basically telling me all the bollocks that's going on in this world. Can you believe this? Can you believe that? Blah, blah, blah stuff. And I deleted it all. And within 10 minutes, I had a full selection of new channels telling me exactly the same bullshit again. And I just thought, this world, the sad thing is, the only way, I mean, me and Simpa are sat here, we are doing stuff on YouTube, you know, we are part of it in a way. But I think the only way to stop this bullshit happening is to live something like the Amish or the Amish, however you pronounce it, you know, and just cut out all TV, all bollocks. And even to the point, I'll even go as much as to say, don't read, stop reading, because whatever you're reading is also somebody else's faults. So I think if you want to be absolutely clear of mind and absolutely pure of mind, you've just got to use your mind and nothing else, and just use your eyes and your vision and just see what's going on rather than being told or listening to what's going on. Absorb what's going on, and you realize that it's still beautiful. The world's beautiful. The people in this world are beautiful. There's a lot of fucking genuine, lovely people out there that want to be nice to you. Not everybody wants to take your money. Not everybody wants to shit on you. Not everybody wants to rob you. There is lovely people out there that really do want to be your friend. So I do think we have to realise what we're watching and what we're being told most of the time is there for a reason, and there to discourage you, to disrupt you, to make you not want to enjoy what's going on in this life. Because this fucking world, even though something weird has gone on, and I will totally agree, I don't know whether there's been a time shift or something has gone on in this world, but there's something fucking strange has happened. I'm seeing it myself. But I'm also seeing, I'm a lucky man, I live out in Wonderland, and I spend my time a lot sat in Wonderland and just looking at nature and just taking it in. And I would say to people, you know, take that 10 minutes of your day. It only takes 10 minutes just to go and sit out there and ponder and just use your own brain, your own eyes and your own ears, and life's still lovely. It's still nice out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, some lovely sentiment there. I'd agree with about 95% of it. I still think like reading is vitally important.
No, yeah.
It was just a bit of, it was an extreme sentence. I get what you were saying, but the language you used was very much like, don't watch my YouTube channel, fuck Simpa's podcast, burn your books, go live in the woods. It's like, obviously the reflective time is hugely important, but I think it's being selective. I think a good analogy to draw is, I call it your media diet. So in the same way we're starting to wake up to our food, and people are, okay, I want to avoid preservatives, cook fresh, I should have a variety of diets, I need to be mindful of the vitamins and minerals, macronutrients, etc. And people are starting to really get into that. I think the same is then true of your media diet. You can have your junk food, or as one of my mates calls it, bubble gum for the eyes, which is sort of TV you just watch and you just mull it to nothing. So you can have your little bit of that, but be mindful, that's okay, that's your treat. Your main diet should then be, you know, some good veggies, some good protein sources, etc. So then
talking to your friends.
100% face-to-face socialization does far more for the human body than we recognize what it does in terms of the way that we synchronize to each other, in terms of our blood pressure, our heartbeats. You know what I mean? There's even like all these studies of pre-telekinesis sort of traits.
I'm a massive believer in telepathy and things like that. There's too many things happen. There's too many times that you're going to ring your friend, or you're going to ring your parents, or you're going to ring somebody close to you, and they ring you.
That's that synchronicity of the universe, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's there's a massiveness out there that we don't know. I've been learning quite a bit. Now, I'm not going to lie. I've been throughout my life.
Oh, you've been reading books? You've been reading books?
No, I can't read. I can't read. That's why I don't bother.
No. Audio books are still pretty good, Denz. No, on like Spotify and that these days.
No, throughout my life, I'm a lad. I'm a northern bloke. Throughout my life, I've been a laddo. You know what I mean? I've been that type of bloke. A bit of war. But throughout my life, I don't know why I've been like that, because I've also lived with a lot of very open-minded people throughout my life and lived in very nice places throughout my life. But recently, I've been I've been learning stuff about myself and talking to people that look into these stuff. And I've been told recently that I'm an energy absorbing empath. And I thought, wow. And one thing to do, I really do take on other people's ailments. I really do. I call it a shit superpower. If somebody tells me they've got an headache, I get an headache, but they still keep their headache. So I call it a shit superpower. But what I'm trying to get to is we are human beings and we do get a lot of each other. Mm-hmm. So time spent with each other's company, laughing, having a good time, is well fucking brilliant here. It's healthy. It's healthy. Is what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, we're living through a loneliness epidemic. This is one of the things that I know it's become quite contentious, the term cannabis community, because of a lot of the sort of negativity that we kind of signposted towards earlier. But I think the benefit of people coming together is not feeling so threatened, so alone. You've not just got your fear of your smell of the blue lights of where am I, how am I looking, are my eyes red? You always got to be on guard as to, am I under threat? But then when you feel you've got these other people around you, the threat, like you said, it's spread more evenly across everyone's shoulders because you're in the same game. And then when we have these spaces like events and things like that, it's creating that safe space. That's what I've always sought to do with the Durham events. For all they're public and free,
I'm good that I didn't get there. I'm good that I didn't get there.
We've got a hell of a selection of events coming up next year, Denz, so we'll
get
you there.
I'll be there.
But I think that's why it's so important that we embrace cannabis. Cannabis socialization is so much different to alcohol socialization.
Yeah.
And as you were speaking of before, is one of the reasons I think they allow alcohol to proliferate is too much of it leads to just negative outcomes. Whereas, so there's a nice tipping point where they want you at. They want you a few pints deep, where you're going to keep spending that money. You'll put the money in the taxi in the local economy. You'll buy the pizza. You'll you'll go through that whole thing. But they don't want you is drinking too much, and then it's problematic, and then you're burdensome on the NHS, and you get cancer and or mental health issues and right. Whereas then with cannabis, it doesn't. There's maybe a marginal small percentage of people that are effectively having an allergic reaction as much as anything else.
You said about alcohol there. It's not just alcohol. It's in every walk of life. I mean, look at McDonald's, KFC. It's all fast food, sugar, chocolate. Mm-hmm. It's every walk of life. So I know you're saying they don't want to burden the NHS, but to me, it seems as though they do.
Well, historically, yeah, I would agree. Prior to the Tories in 2008 and the financial crash, yeah, I would agree. I would have said that all of them be like, no, but they are trying to accelerate us into an insurance-based system like America. Ironically, at the same time as America is trying to get to a European, British healthcare system way of operating,
Yeah, totally. It's a sad affair, isn't it? It's a sad affair, but...
Yeah. That's something
smiling.
Indeed. I mean, it's something Terence McKenna pointed out. He said, like fats and sugar and caffeine and tobacco and alcohols. We don't look at these as drugs in the same way.
I'm so pleased after 40 years of smoking tobacco, I have just given up. So I am so pleased. I would say I'm into my third, maybe going into my fourth month of stopping tobacco.
Nice.
And I won't lie, I feel like absolute shit. But the reason why I'm saying that, it just shows what shit they're willing to give us. Mm. They're willing to governmentally give us to go to that shop, buy. And it's that dangerous, is tobacco. Well, not tobacco is not dangerous. I should rephrase that. The things that's in commercial tobacco, the chemicals, because it's proven out there that natural tobacco, pure 100%, nicotine, I'm getting mixed up here with nicotine and tobacco, but nicotine has got some not bad properties out there. So
it's in terms of the delivery device of smoking tobacco to get nicotine is ridiculous, but then through creating nicotine salts, which was a process created by the precursory company for Juul vapes in America. And they basically created this shit, marketed and lied like a motherfucker about the strength of them. and then got a whole new generation of people addicted to a different form of nicotine delivery, because nicotine does have some benefit, especially for neurodivergent people that suffer from concentration issues. Nicotine in short bursts will give concentration and allow for like single track focused thinking. There is several studies, granted they're mostly rat models, and rat and human models don't necessarily always scale up, but does show that there is a toxicity, neurological toxicity to nicotine, so that it does have detrimental long-term effects on the brain. And I think people can see that in smoking of cigarettes. So people that smoke just cigarettes and don't smoke weed, so that's their only relationship with the act of smoking. I mean, I used to call that sort of behavior, it's a cyclical psychosis inducing behavior. You almost are choosing because of the addiction to go, I'll take the thing, and then you're only consuming again to reduce the need for the thing. Do you know what I mean?
I've gone from smoking, and this sounds ridiculous, I know, but it's fucking true. I've gone from smoking 30 joints a day to 3 joints a day. I've gone from waking and baking every single day to I probably am at a wake and bake in 2 months. I don't have the cravings, no cravings for cannabis anymore. The cravings weren't for cannabis, the cravings were for tobacco. It wasn't.
And because because the muscle memory of the delivery system is the same, your body almost can't tell the difference. So it's one of the things I do advocate for people that are trying to quit tobacco, is separate the two, so you can start to understand the difference.
It's the mentality. Now I'm getting to the point now that I've nearly stopped combusting. I've nearly got to the point that I am just dabbing. Dabbing is for me really now. I'm smoking, I smoke ash rosin. I'm trying to smoke the cleanest form of cannabis that I can at the minute. Now this is still, for me, a bit of old school. I've smoked joints for fucking 38 years, 39 years. So that's to get that out of my life is so difficult. But I've got to the point now that it's nearly out, and I'll end up just vaping hash rosin. You know what I mean? So that's my intentions. I want to just be vaping hash rosin, clean, pure, nothing in it, hash rosin. So whether I can or not, well, I can. There's no whether I can. I can.
I was going to say, you're several months into quitting tobacco. I think that should prove to you that you can basically choose to do what you want. Like you said, once you separate the need for that continual input from the tobacco, like I said, if you can then separate back to smoking filtered tobacco separate from your blunts or other form of cannabis consumption, then you'll start to understand the difference of the relationship. Like you said, a lot of people that do wake and bake are people that mix, and the reason they're waking and baking is to get the tobacco, but they almost self-justify by not wanting to get the tobacco. And there is an argument to be made that, dependent on the ratio and the amount you consume, that the bronchodilatory properties, the anti-cancerous properties, and the benefits of the cannabinoids could actually, to some degree, lessen the potential harm of the tobacco. But that is not a guarantee, of course.
No, well, I must admit, I'm very lucky. Well, I'm lucky in one way. I have been having a few problems with my chest, breathing, blah, blah, blah. And I have been for tests over the last couple of years. And I went in full x-rays and job lot, and I went in that machine and took my mouth, and he come back and he says, "You're all right?" I said, "Well, what are my x-rays showing on my lungs?" He said, "Well, why are you asking that?" I said, "Because I've smoked cannabis chronically for 40 years nearly." He said, "Well, here's your x-rays of your lungs. You're showing no sign of smoking." He said, "There's no sign at all." He said, "I've seen non-smokers with worse lungs than yours." He says, "You have a tiny, tiny pin drop of an head." He said, "That could develop into COPD in 20 years. Now, this were last year, he said this. I said, "So 20 years of, if I carried on smoking the way I am, which was with tobacco, I could develop that." He said, "Yeah, you could." He said, it's not, you might not. So I think there is something being said with mixing it with cannabis. I don't know whether to me, cannabis is a fucking wonder drug, I'm not going to lie. But I do know I'm blinkered slightly by it. And again, for anybody out there trying to stop smoking tobacco, I'll highly recommend it. I do feel like crap now, but my chest, It's completely cleared up, completely. I mean, I was doing that a few months ago, and I was going, it were, and I'm breathing. I could even sing. You know what I mean? I
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, it improves your metabolism as well, your immune system. There is a lot of benefits to quitting tobacco. I mean, actually, folks, it is October, isn't it? Quittober? Stoptober? Stoptober.
That one is.
So yeah,
October,
it's Stoptober. So if
come
anybody's
on,
listening,
people.
give it a go. You missed the start, but that doesn't mean you can't give it a go.
Yeah.
Even reduction, guys, like I said, trying to just recognize the difference of the behaviors. It's the same thing that we say about mixing your cultivars. It's all well and good. Everyone likes a nice cocktail, but if you're trying to figure out what affects you in what ways, consume them individually, get your own bearings. Don't listen to other people's opinions. That's how it affected their endocannabinoid system. It might not be the same as how it'll affect yours.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're all different. We're all different. I do say that to people, you know. Cannabis people say, you know, it sends me weird, it sends us other people. I said it's a drug, like any other drug in this planet, and it's not for everybody. I don't like alcohol. Alcohol doesn't work for me. Lots of people do. My missus, you know, she likes to drink a wine, but I hate it. It's not for me at all. You know what I mean? So it's not for everybody. It's, you know, luckily it's for me.
It should be each to their own in the same way, like, I don't eat McDonald's. I don't begrudge there being McDonald's in the world. Some people eat McDonald's. Otherwise, there wouldn't fucking be McDonald's. It's informed consent. That's all it should ever be, is that the thing that's bothered me since becoming an adult, since literally sort of like when I was at some point when I was 19, something happened and I was like, whoa, I'm an adult. Lawfully, like, this can't be the way the world works. And like, when you turn 20, it's salary. And like, when you turn 21, you get more of a higher minimum. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm an adult now.
Yeah.
What's the point of this? Now I'm in my mid-30s and still looking around like, I'm still the kid. Yet there's kids beneath me and then there's kids above me. There's no adults. It's one of the grand realizations, I think, of life.
What they say about men, we never grow up.
We can't anymore. This arrested development that's been installed into us, that there's either you're picked to be the leaders and the men, like I said, so you go to private school at 5, 6, 7, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Like that, yeah.
You're picked out, so you'll miss your childhood. You don't play games or socialize in the same way. You're built to be the next world leaders. Then there's us lot, where they've got, now again, men of my age that are just chronically addicted to video games, that, no offense to them, that have Lego collections worth thousands of pounds, that
I don't know
quite immature maybe I'm being judgmental, so maybe I apologize, but it feels to me immature, you know?
In society. I don't know whether you've seen it. I'm certainly seeing it. I'm seeing a lot more narcissists going on in this world. There seems to be a lot more selfishness going on in this world. There seems to be a lot more childishness going on in this world. I don't know what has gone on.
I think it's the ubiquity of the internet and social media. It's that before, if you lived in a small mining village in the Northwest and you wanted to be, I don't know, a furry, that was a fucking no. You couldn't, you didn't, that wasn't a possibility to you. But then when you've got the internet and you can sign up in these forums and meet thousands of other people and go to conventions and whatever else, then you feel more.
I'm seeing it
to be yourself, and I've got nothing against furs. I've got nothing against nobody else. I did a social experiment where after a festival I wore a foxtail for 6 months and just did nothing, ignored it, pretended I didn't have it on. Went to the pub and shit, went to fucking events and just like ignored it. People like, like what? Like, just people should be able to behave and act entirely the way they want, and you shouldn't have the right. You can be offended by it, but that's your problem.
I agree.
You are the one who's taken offense. But I think that what you're saying is that there is an erosion of, I guess, the collective commons of social norms, in that I'm not going to run around with my dick out in the street because I don't want other people to run around with their dick out in the street. I think there should be certain morality, certain etiquette.
But again, down to cannabis side of things, I'm not a cannabis smoker that will go and flaunt it and go and push it into somebody's face that doesn't want to smoke it. I don't agree with doing things like that, protesting. You know, certain people out there protested and they were smoking London Eye and things like that with public. And I thought, that's disgusting. That's disgusting. Then people might not want to smoke anything, never mind about cannabis.
Location's important. Yeah, if you'd have done it in Parliament or a police station or something to make that point.
Oh yeah, that's a point. But I'm saying if you're rubbing it into the general public, you can't. I don't believe that's the way to go about anything to do that. You know,
well, I think that's the British kind of way, or has become the British way, is that behind closed doors, you are whoever the hell you want to be. But when we're out on the street, we all kind of are just like, no, no, no. And maybe that's not necessarily a good thing. But when I still feel like so much of the world is advancing to the, and others, like you said, have this hubris and narcissism of going out and going, you can't talk to me. I'm this protected group, or I'm this person, or I identify as X, Y, Z. Again, I'm not making a moral judgment on anybody.
Because you should be able to be offended.
But they've got that, but we still can't go out smelling of weed. We've got to be scared of how we smell, what our eyes look like. Yeah. And I just feel like I don't want to cap anybody else's progress, but can you just please, before we start going more insane, I say insane, more to an nth degree with this, can we at least end the fucking war on drugs?
And can we at least stop lying? Can they at least stop lying to us?
And within our own ranks as well. Some of y'all are not going to like this, but can we stop the drug supremacy? You like to smoke weed. Yeah, Dave likes a bit of cocaine. Yeah, Gary's on the fucking heroin. Like, yeah, there's people that fall into difficult circumstance and they start to act out of desperation, but it's...
wants to be in that situation. They show that little bit of empathy towards somebody. I was with somebody, it's a couple of years ago, this, but we were walking through Manchester Centre and there was a bit of a bag lady walking through, you know what I mean? Carrier bags, you know, off her tits completely out of her fucking mind, and my mate laughed. I said, what are you laughing at? Check her out, that. I said, do you think she really wants to be like that? Do you think she's buzzing? You know what I mean? I said, show a bit of compassion towards her. I said, she surely don't want to be carrying a fucking bit of a cliche word at home in 2 carrier bags, but it's true. They just got to show a little bit of, I know, but again, as I'm saying it, I'm thinking to myself, it's a stressful world we live in now. So there's a lot of fucking stress on you, on people's heads. There's more stress on us now, I think, than there ever has been. Like you say, people get offended now over such a simple bit of bullshit or bit of nothingness. And being offended shouldn't be your problem. Anybody can be offended. Sticks and stones may break my bones. You know what I mean? It's an old childhood thing that we've said for fucking years and years. But being offended now has become, oh my God, I'm offended. You can't offend me. Well, of course I can offend you. I can do it. I'm an northern man. I probably am going to offend you, to be truthful.
Well, there's been I spoke of this with one of the gay rights activists on the podcast. I think it was episode 69, actually. And we spoke of like the difference between the older generation, like the Stonewall generation of gay rights activists versus kind of the newer generation. And I think social media and like the ubiquity of the internet and what I was kind of saying before about people in disparate areas feeling their larger sense of belonging community, that it can then create echo chambers, massive echo chambers, where then 20 people can then end up representing the ideas of millions of people. Do you know what I mean? We see this all the time with think tanks and things like that. And the loudest people on social media make the most fuss, and they then create groups and things like this. And it affects the narrative, like you said. And I think it's difficult because everyone should be free and represented to be who they are and what they are, as long as you do no harm to others. But it shouldn't then be a sense of your appearance offends me or your language offends me. It's that's whoever's taken offense. That's, and with respect, it's your fault. Anything that offends me is something in me. What's supposed to happen in a healthy society is you get offended by something and go, ooh, and then you think about it. Old school Frankie Boyle, 2004 era, sort of that sort of thing, where it was just like, what the fuck? Like, you'd giggle and then you go, oh. And you'd have to then talk through it. So you'd be thinking of concepts like, this is going to get me fucked off YouTube, but like female genital mutilation. Do you know what I mean? They'd have to talk about then things of like assassination, of murder, of incest.
Well, here's one.
And that was the point of the joke.
Here's one for you about people that we, you know, how we get treated as a one all the time. Wars. Now I spoke to you earlier about it. I go out to the Middle East quite a lot, mate. And I go not far from Gaza and things like that. Now, the area I go is the Sinai Desert, part of Egypt. Now, when I'm saying people, the way I'm going with this is what you said there is people thinking for us, you know, 1% of society thinking for millions. It happens now every day in these wars that's going on. You know what I mean? They've got British government who'll send bloody missiles over to Iran now in our name. Now, when I then go over to the Middle East, and luckily I have very good Middle Eastern friends coming from Yemen, Jordan, all over, you know what I mean? All over the Middle East, and we get together, and luckily we're open-minded. But people now are starting to look at me as an Englishman, you dirty Englishman, you know what I mean? That type of look. And I'd say it's not me. My thoughts, I don't want to bomb anybody. It's not me that's bombing anybody. And that's the sad thing. Now, another massive, where I'm going with this is a massive thing. I've lived on the kibbutz and moshavs of Israel throughout my life. Now, when I go to the desert, like I say, I'm probably, let's say, 300 miles away from Gaza, from southern Gaza. Now, there's an Israeli girl that lives in with the Arabs, and I have to tell her, be careful, please be careful. She hates being Israeli. She hates the society that she's been brought up in. And I said to her, well, that's terrible. You shouldn't hate your childhood and your family. I said, what about your family? She said, I don't see my family anymore because they live in Israel. And I no longer want to go and live in Israel again. But what I'm getting to there is that Israeli conflict that's going on now, the military has now ruined her life. She don't want to kill anybody. She loves the Arabs. She loves the nations of, she loves people in Gaza, and she cares a lot for them. And now she's to live her life, and for her to be open and live a life, she has now had to leave her country. But the sad thing is, again, what I'm saying is that people will look at her. Where are you from? I'm from Israel. You fucking horrible bastard. You know what I mean?
Not fully open-minded people, but it's the issue of the human condition. Because there is so much good in the world, because there is so much greatness, creativity, progress, power, potential, everything is balanced. So there is this ball of hate, of darkness, of misery that just gets pushed around in the back behind us, while some nations get to rise and some people get to prosper. And we have this monolithic thinking. And it's what I was trying to avoid in the previous section of like, the most extreme fringe of the trans rights movement isn't all transgender or transsexual individuals. The extreme end of gay rights movements isn't all gay rights movement people that are gay or queer identified. The same with like anti-war, the same with fucking Greenpeace movements or green rights or environmentalism. Or we have the extreme fringe of things because it has to be the sharpest to penetrate through to society. And then once it does, it tapers back into this idea that we want to, it's like, in my head, it's like mixing colors of paint. We all want to homogenize into this color. And I think that there's something in society, it's like oil and water. I'm not to say that all things can't mix. I think that we don't want all things to mix. We want the flavor and variety of every unique creative experience. That two lads born in the north, you know, few years between us, but two very different cultural experiences.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But we would be pitched by the Southerners as them ignorant Northerners, them minors, them XY, them, you know what I mean? And we do it to ourselves and we do it to each other, and it's so difficult to do. But I think it's a word. Is it saunter? Which is the sudden realization of the intricacies of another human's life. You know, when you look at somebody and you go, "Holy fuck! Everything I've been through in terms of the density of it, you've had your version of that.
Take a step in my shoes, basically."
And that's where that humanity comes from. And this is why these conflicts are so difficult, because it becomes this group versus this group. And you see it in the propaganda and the bullshit and the what do they call it, like passive and positive tones in the way that they speak of this group did this, oh, this happened to this group. And so it all just creates this discourse that,
and there's also
we want black and white, good and evil. You know, we were born on like raised like John Wayne movies not that long ago. You know, the cowboy in white was the good guy, the cowboy in black is the bad guy. There was this group with the invaders, and it's not. It's everything is conflict.
Star Wars.
Exactly, and everything is just overly complicated, so we cannot simplify it in that sense. As you say, it's that we have to recognize that. I mean, with everything going on in Lebanon at the minute, of like the way that the world is then switching and going, oh, well, you can have a little bit more sympathy for this group, but don't treat them like this group. They're not like us, you know what I mean? And it's just like, well, but these are people. A child is a child is a child.
Yeah. It don't matter where you are, where you're from, or anything. It don't matter. When they're living in a fucking bombed out town, they don't give a shit. where they fucking what religion. They're not, but believe me, they don't give a toss where they're coming from. They just want to survive. They want the parents to survive. They want the kids to survive. They're just living. That's what they're doing. It don't matter where you're from, what you're doing, what religion, what you're thinking, what you're smoking, what you're eating. They just want to fucking live, don't they? And that's the sad thing in this world, isn't it, though? It's not us. It's not the people that run this world. The people that should run this world don't run this world. The people that have real minds and care about people don't run this world. That's the problem with this world.
They're too busy dealing with the triage around them. They're dealing with the wounded in front of them. It's like you said before you spoke, it's the empaths of the world, the people that feel the pain of others. They will never rise to be in positions of power and authority because every sinews in their body rejects it. Whereas on the opposite end of that scale is these people who crave it, who will fuck over their grandma and do anything in the world. I could be prime minister, I will do it. Or those people are dangerous.
Yeah.
Yet they are such a thin sliver. And like you said, that on sides of all conflict, I mean, there's a mass mobilization of Orthodox Jews in California the other day. I think a couple of 100,000 of them. And they all came out in traditional garb and deliberately sung traditional songs. And they were like trying to show again and remind people the actions of the current Israeli government are not the monolithic actions of Judaism. Do you know what I mean? And that's what we need, more of these reminders.
Society, again, it's probably like, I've lived in Jerusalem and I've been lost in the Orthodox towns. Believe me, they are not an open-minded society.
Of course not, but the point is that even if in their closed-minded religious ideals, they can still recognize the humanity of people that on paper they are supposed to be opposed to. Again, as always with this, I'm never giving, by mentioning something, giving sort of creed or value to it. I'm just sort of speaking in this discourse. But I think it's, again, we come back to a very similar thing. And I think it is something that most men will mature through eventually, is this recognition that something needs to be done, but it isn't necessarily the old school, let's raise an army and fucking sack the castle. And yet we're having that weaponized amongst us. So people are righteously angry. Young men are righteously angry and are fucked off because they don't see any progress. There isn't a myth anymore. There isn't a narrative to our future. Our future is you're either fucked and you burn in eternal damnation because of climate change, or you are lucky and you become like a Bitcoin billionaire and you get to abuse everybody and everybody treats you as God. They're like the two narratives that are portraying our world.
Just listening to what you say there, then you've got a fair point there. With my technology, we've moved like that fucking massively. But if you actually look at society, the human race as an all, we've probably moved that in back from the old days of riding on horseback, knights of old. We still do the same fucking thing, but we're a tank instead. So we've not really progressed in that mental thinking, the mental capacity of leadership, if you will, of wanting to lead and of wanting to be that master. And I suppose it's still there in hierarchy. Now, today, still no different from what it were then. But yeah, what are you smoking anyway, Simpa? Something on an artery. What are you smoking?
I currently have some cereal milk and garlic lemon OG.
Ooh, lovely. How is it?
Quite a nice combination. It's keeping me quite happy. I mean, enjoying the cereal milk. It seems to get me quite calm and just one-minded. So when I'm writing, I'm working on a deadline article at the minute. So it gets me focused. It gets me in a good place.
Lovely.
I haven't actually looked at my notes. We've just blasted through the first hour there. Let's have a look what else we're looking at here. All right, let's do a bit more 420 sort of things. Censorship online, something we both sort of faced, I imagine. What's been your experience with sort of Meta and YouTube and the content you produce?
Well, like I say, I packed it in nearly for 2 years due to the fact I've been finding it that difficult putting my content up there. I mean, I'm now on my 5th Instagram channel. I think I got to 47,000 and woke up one day and it had just gone. And I appealed it, and they said, no, you're not having it. You've got pictures of cannabis on your wall. I said, but it's my personal cannabis. I said, it's not anything. I'm not showing anybody to buy it or sell it or do anything like that. And they said, no. So I'm on my 5th account there. YouTube, again, I was lucky I didn't get in the big quash when they got rid of all your I Smoke Tyler, when they got rid of I Smoke, and they got rid of a lot of other people. I was lucky. For some reason, when you type in cannabis review, I don't appear. I'm not in there at all. So I don't know what I've done. I don't know how I've managed to go around that loophole, but I did get obviously age restricted, and my viewing dropped drastically. Dropped to the point that I thought, I'm just smashing my head against the wall here. It's pointless. What's point? You know what I mean? I went from literally 1,000 views a day down to 200 views a week. You know what I mean?
And it's having to sign in, isn't it? That's the issue that most people won't do, is then having to sign in and show a record of them. Like,
I think a lot of people have signed in now, but I did a YouTube video yesterday, and I don't often say, I'm not one of these people that say subscribe to my channel. I put a thing at end saying please hit subscribe, but I don't often word it. I don't often say please subscribe to my channel, blah blah blah. But yesterday I did. I said, come on now. I said there's 30% of you are watching my videos that aren't subscribed. I said, and you must be signed in because you're watching my videos. They're age restricted. Just
click button.
Yeah. I said, just reach over and just press it. I said, it's great, you know. I said, there's more content coming if you watch a while. But at minute, I don't know. It started, like you say, after COVID. Before COVID, things were brilliant. I was flying around the world. I was going to different clubs. I was doing all sorts of things. It was really starting to blossom into a fantastic thing. And then COVID come and just dropped it down completely. But I've just come back this year. Sounds a bit daft, come back. I've just started my channel again this year. Started doing content again. And it's really gone. I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. I'm enjoying myself again. And I've gone back to the original reason why I started my YouTube channel, was to have a good time. You know, to have a laugh with people, connect with people, and have a good time. There were no other reason. I've been asked quite a few times, what's your end game? I don't have an end game. What you see is what you get. Yep. I am me, and I'm just here to have a laugh and have a good time and live my life as happy as I can, really. That's what I'm trying to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think if people respond to that authenticity, they respond to real, and especially like content that is then giving them an insight into spaces that they maybe not be able to get into, don't know how to get into, or are just curious of. So I think it's a good wide lens on the culture. Yeah.
It is difficult to record at events. People don't see when I'm recording at events. They think I just wander about recording at events, but you've got to think I'm trying to get all the aliases. I've got to get proper names. I can't have anybody talking about money. I can't have registration plates. I can't have this. I can't have faces. So it's not as easy as you think with filming. You know yourself, you know yourself.
It's one of the reasons why I stopped filming at events.
I am going to do it. I'm stopping doing it.
It's so difficult. I mean, you can get, even like snapshots of the stalls and whatnot. It just.
I'm going to take pictures. Yeah, say 1,000 words. So 100. I'm going to start it that way.
Yeah, you could put like a still into a video, and then do like montage and stuff like you said. It's just for the protection of others. Like if somebody's real name gets dropped somewhere, some detail of something, like you said, the police are already in our community. They have been for a very long time. They have now social media teams in most of the constabularies across the UK. So let's not make their jobs any easier, folks. This actually leads me on to recently, obviously, flying through France. Probably scared quite a few people, although I don't think you're on the billionaire status list, so you don't have to worry as much. The CEO of Telegram was accosted by Interpol. Several $1 million later, in a conversation, he was released. Within a week, Telegram announces that it is moderating chats and that it will be providing details of unlawful activity to various governmental and policing authorities.
We know this.
Yeah.
I did a video. I did a doctor's rant video the other week, just having a rant basically, and I said to the people using Telegram, do not be disillusioned. You are being watched. I said, I don't care what you. I said, maybe, you're going to have to be quite big, I think, for I think, this is more wishful thinking rather than hotels for lots of people I know that use Telegram. Hopefully, they're not just going for small timers, and they are going for big time people, and hopefully there is keywords that they are looking for. So, because I don't think they have the manpower to monitor everything. They can't.
It depends on which institution it's going through. So I know that a lot of the police forces are tasked currently to deal with what they're terming as county lines. So basically drugs or money from drug dealing leaving arbitrary lines on the fucking map that break up the counties of the UK. And the other one is money leaving the country from drug deals. They definitely want that money to fucking stay here, even if it is staying in the bad pool.
Well,
it still means the economies. The Albanians had a general rule of like, what was it, like fucking 60, 40, 80, 20, something like that, where the majority of the money went straight out through various different means, like pallets of cash were literally leaving ports and shit.
We could have done that years ago. We could have made it that years ago.
And I think what was the other one was like serious organized crime. So basically they're looking for you're either wanting a big fucking fish or they're wanting a giant net with lots of little fish and they can just tie it up together. And the problem with things like Telegram and these other apps is because it's a digital trail. It's not like, oh, I sent a letter to you and you burnt the letter. As long as nobody read it in between. It's like, no, there is a digital trail of all of this shit. And you might just be a cog, but a necessary cog. They'll grab you as a small piece to connect two big pieces because you happen to buy from him and message him. Like, as long as they can build that narrative, it's not about what's happened. Remember this, folks. It's about what they can prove in court. And if they can build a narrative and you fit into that fucking narrative, regardless of you being small time with your 20, 50, whatever, you just said basically be fucking safe. I'm very pro drug dealer on this podcast. You know this, but yeah. Get a good fucking lawyer. No comment. And right now, if you're going to continue, this is not to be construed as legal advice, but if you are to continue, research other apps or other means and methods of operating.
Feet, cars.
Face to face. Yeah, it's a small island. It's a small island. It might take a day, but if you need to drive from the north to the south,
That's what I recommend.
Yeah.
All day.
Go have that meeting.
I don't sell. I've never sold anything in my life. It's not my thing.
Yeah,
but I'm a YouTuber, so but I do know lots of people that do, obviously. And like Simpa said, be careful.
Be safe. Leave phones in cars, people. Etc. Yeah, that's probably enough advice to get me in trouble for one day. But yeah,
too far there, Simpa.
I said I am very pro drug dealer because without it, I wouldn't have had the culture that I've been raised in. I wouldn't have had the access and the better health that I do now. There's mates I know whose kids wouldn't eat. The systems wouldn't operate. Council tax would it be even more or less paid, if that sentence makes sense. And all the services would be worse. Like the system is being fucked because of the war on drugs. If we could embrace it and legitimize that money. I mean, I've had mates, they've calmed down over the years, but I had mates that years ago in the summer, they'd buy like jet skis and shit. And it was just, I need rid of this box of fucking money. Oh, this thing, and I can store it here and register it in that guy's name. I'll run it around for 3 weeks, get bored, sell the fucking thing, and then go, shit, I've got all this money. I need to go buy something and
I'll go and buy something else.
Doing stupid shit. At least now they got in a property, thankfully. And they've started to figure out their pension. But like it was crazy watching this duality of worlds of then people that had so much money, but they couldn't have that money. So they couldn't use it. And so it was always logistics. There's enough money, there's enough weed, there's enough for everybody and everything.
What coming next? The cashless. But anyway, let's not get into that political bollocks.
Yeah.
Rubbish. It's rubbish.
But yeah, I think face to face, people just stay safe and
enjoy your life, enjoy yourself, and have a good one.
Research some alternatives there. What's your thoughts on? I know it's less of a thing these days, but UK Cali.
I don't believe we have much UK Cali, to be truthful. I know it's here. because I was smoking it this weekend, but I would say that 98% of the Californian weed in this country has either never seen California, or it's probably more likely Thai nowadays.
Mm.
And if you are going to get any Cali in this country, if you're lucky to get the top shelf, you're going to pay your fucking money for it, because there's quite a simple saying: good weed isn't cheap, and cheap weed isn't good. And it's fact. But the Cali that's going to be coming, and it's going to be coming cheap, your Cali mids, basically, most likely not worth farting on. And stick, we have fantastic growers in this country. We don't need to look further afield. It's nice to go further afield. I'm not going to lie. I'm smoking stuff from America. I am smoking stuff from America. But I know it's from America. It's personally. But no, I don't believe 90% at least is not Cali. Not Cali. No.
Yeah. No. I think I would very much agree with that. It was the whole marketing thing of, well, it's Cali genetics grown in the UK, and it's like, it's UK weed. The genetics are irrelevant in terms of.
It doesn't matter where your plant comes from. You could have an African plant. It's not bloody African, is it? It's grown here. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's sort of marketing. So I mean, as a reviewer then, and also a kind of long-term cannabis consumer, kind of what's your thoughts on like marketing and hype and packaging? There's
Clever. To the point, I can see beyond it, and I'm still attracted to it. It's a clever. I've just done Super Booth. I've just done a review of them. Now, if you know Super Booth, I did the poppers range: cherry poppers, plum poppers, lemon poppers. There's bubblegum, but I didn't do that. But the marketing, and I even mentioned the marketing strategy on my video. And I said, Jesus fucking Christ, sex is one of the biggest sellers in this world. So what have they entwined it? They've entwined it with sex and cannabis. So if you get a bag of lemon poppers, it comes in an outer bag with a suggestive lady, coming from, what do they call it? I forget what they call it. Anime. You've got an anime character, slightly seductive. Now, if you know the symbolism of the outer bag and you're weed in the inner bag, the outer bag is if you go to Japan and you buy yourself a top shelf magazine, it will come in an outer bag. Your outer bag will be non-explicit. You open it up, you're in a bag, you're explicit. So the marketing strategy of Super Dope to combine one Japanese art, which is massive, anime is massive, and then sex, and then cannabis. It's sold, hasn't it? It's sold. It's sold.
It's really branded itself heavily in a vertically integrated way. It's really thought of everything else. It's the same as like Zushi. 1010, you know, again, it's
Tenko.
Like their edibles set with the chopsticks. I think again that's powerfully creative. It's interesting. I saw there was one in fucking the US. Somebody doing packs in a shop that was PS2 games.
Yeah,
you opened up and it was the disc, and in the disc was the pack for $3.5.
Cereal boxes now. I'm seeing cereal boxes. Now here's
like
one.
Exotics in that, yeah.
Now not all packages come like this. This stuff is some of the finest ash rosin on this planet, and he uses nothing but that one sticker on all his packaging. I put the name of it because I forgot what it were. But he knows his product is that good. He don't need to market it. He don't need to market it. He just says, if you know, you know. You know what I mean?
And that's it. I mean, it's difficult because we have the privilege of being connected to a world where we can quite easily get a vast variety of products and connect with a great amount of people.
We all look it.
But there's then people still in this country, probably not going to be listening to this podcast, but if you are, hello, welcome, subscribe. How do? That still just buy weed. their dealer sells weed.
Shitweed.
And they didn't know the name of it. Some weeks it's that's smell is this, and
Yeah.
it's difficult because I'm not saying I want to replace them. I'd like them to obviously lift their game up.
I know what
But
you're saying. This is yeah.
it's difficult because I don't want to get elitist and be like, no, this is ours and we'll keep it, because that's exactly what we're trying to stop the corporates doing to us under legalization. So we want to create this kind of open market for everybody. And I think the way to do it is through education, content creation, and awareness. That's exactly what we're doing, is by showing people. And then
I must admit, people do say to me, and I have throughout the years, why you only review good stuff, you only review good things. I said, I know I do. I said, but the reason why I do it is one, I'm not here to ridicule anybody. And for two, why would the fuck would you want to watch a shit review? I said, it's a rock and a hard place. I said, if somebody in Wonderland sends me something to review and I don't find it up to review, I'll politely tell them, I'm not going to review your stuff because I don't want to ridicule you. And I'll try my hardest to give them what little knowledge I have to try and help them in the future. That's what my thought is, and my moles is to try and help you. I don't want to belittle you. I don't want to make anybody's weed look shit or anything like that. But, like Simpa says there, we're very, very lucky. And it is, I know we don't want to be elitist, but in a certain way and fashion, I'm sure it does come across as elitist. Because like you said, I still have people now saying, what's dabbing? I've never dabbed in my life. And I'm sat here with these finities, and these people still, they've never put a pipe to the mouth and don't know what it is, you know what I mean? So it is, I call it a subculture within a subculture, I really do. And it is, and I would, if I could give all, if I was rich enough, I would just said this the other day, I said I went to this event and there was somebody there that had quality abundance of beautiful array of hash rosins. And I said, I'd love to just have enough money. This is why I want money, not to be power commanding or like that, but I'd like to be able to go in there and say, give me every single pot you've got, and then just put them all on the table and say, right, lads, it's all on me. Smoke whatever the fuck you want to smoke. You know what I mean? That's what I'd like to do with my wealth, is fucking share it. Yeah. But I don't have any wealth. So if you'd like to throw some my way, please do. You know what I mean? I don't mind. But what you're saying yourself, Simpa, what? I'll ask you a question. Not many people will ask you a question. What's your preferred smoke at the minute? What's your preferred way of smoking? And what would, if you could, would you smoke most of the time?
Still classic smoking a blunt.
Yeah.
The ritual.
A blunt to a joint.
Blunt.
What, rolled up in tobacco leaf?
No, it's as in a blunt in the old parlance of a pure cannabis.
No, you see, a blunt to me is rolled in a tobacco leaf. That's a blunt.
It's or a blunt leaf, yeah, like a brown leaf. So it could be like the cannabis composite ones. Or,
yeah, I know what you're saying. But an old school, I'm thinking old school term. It's being an old schooler for me. A blunt is rolled in tobacco. A big joint, because I know you don't smoke tobacco, do you?
No.
So a big joint is what I'd say, something like that. You know what I mean? A reefer.
Yeah, I mean, we call it. My mate still calls them bifters, which is what we used to call them when we were teenagers. Like, I want a bifter.
Yeah.
Man.
Doobie. When I was in America, hey man, are you smoking a doobie?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, I've not heard Doobie Brothers. I've not heard that for a long time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like I said, because there's such a rich lexicon and like terms and language, that speaks to their being. As you said, subcultures within subcultures within subcultures. There's still people. I mean, I met somebody at our last event, a pair of teachers in their 70s, and they were on like the 1967 march in London, and they were talking about how they've lived these hippie ideals, and now they're yoga teachers in retirement, and just getting to see they'd then come to this. And then we had some students down that were just like, oh, well, we've just started smoking weed because we went to university. And then some like the council estate kids came down and like, oh, the fuck's this, all this fire war. And then just, you know what I mean? It's a wonderful melting pot.
Everybody getting on.
100%. It's one of the things I worry about, the field events and the verification system and the costing becoming, like you said, exclusive and restrictive, not necessarily through intention, but people are scared when there's like allegedly, potentially a lot of, I'm going to adjust my language here, potentially a lot of value in these fields.
Yeah.
It could be problematic if the worst thing
You've got to
happened.
watch it. They do have
So,
to watch
so, so
it.
I
Yeah.
understand balancing security on one end, but I also then on the other creating the illusion of then it almost looks like gang activity to the
Well,
normies.
again, we're
Do
talking
you know what I
this.
mean?
We mentioned it. I had two masked men trying to come into my house. You know what I mean?
Mm.
People watching my YouTube channel, these guys obviously watching my YouTube channel and believing that my house is full of copious amounts of fucking loveliness, when in reality, I do have some nice loveliness, but it's a few gram of loveliness, not fucking copious, and not anything worth robbing or getting bussed over. You know what I mean? So you do, in this world, you do have to realise there is still, you know, motherfuckers out there that want to come and kick your door in. So you do have to be careful still. And I know what you're saying about fields, but there's that element again. We have to protect ourselves, don't we? We do have to protect ourselves, not only from criminals, but from law. You know, we are in, this is the savvy situation that we are in, that we have no protection other than ourselves from any angle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're an unprotected group in that sense that we have to then protect ourselves. But the issue is because of the potential that people could then it's not in a case like robbing somebody in a lawful way. We then don't have the protection of the police. And we've seen scammers, infiltrators, people that come in the flash in the pan and get all this attention and move through the community. And then a year or two later, everyone sits down and talks to each other and goes, wait, they owe you £1,000 as well? Oh, wait, this guy took it. And and there's nothing we can do. We then try and warn each other about the next one, but then you end up with like social media, like people that then just suddenly become popular and they seem to gain traction and everyone goes, well, that's the way through. So we'll move behind that because that's how we're getting forward. And then people turn around and go, well, where the hell is it? I mean, where the hell's Outlaw? I've messaged, I'm trying to figure it out. Like there's various people that have come and gone that gain this attention, that take this resource, this money, this energy and effort. And then when they're gone, it doesn't get diffused back into the other campaigners, into the other activists, into the other people. It just gets lost. And I feel that's just what's happened is that the UK is kind of directionless because everybody that's in the scene that's doing something is making just enough. They're feeding their kids, they're paying their mortgage, they're moving forward.
I'm lucky me that I'm not money influenced. I'm not influenced at all by money. I don't give a fuck two fucks about money. I don't like it. But the sad thing in this world, we need it. And it's like you just said there then, we don't, as YouTubers, cannabis YouTubers, we get nothing. We get nothing. We look at that we get sent a little bit of bud to review, but that ain't going to feed or clothe my children. You know what I mean? So what do? We shouldn't have to be having to battle. You know what I mean? That's the sad thing about it. You look at saying on entrepreneur like Burner. You know what I mean? It's like you said earlier, he's now a billionaire. Well, what about all them other small men that have been incarcerated for no reason whatsoever and now been let out into society, but still have a criminal record, can't get a job, can't open anything to do with cannabis, and that's what they know, because they've got a criminal past. So they're just shunned and pushed to one side. So you get your people like your Burners, you get your people like your Arjans, and your people like this, they become the up echelons of society when everybody else again is pushed down. But never mind.
Yeah, it's tough. We need our human rights protecting. We need a model of decriminalization, of ending the war that means that we benefit first. That it can't just be, oh, everybody past this arbitrary date is safe, but everyone before it is fucked. Like we're seeing the consequences of this in society. It's the same with like we're saying, like they're ramping up all this rhetoric and bollocks in certain circles, like, you know, fucking Reform put in their manifesto life sentences for drug dealers. The fucking conservatives prior to their conference were talking about making cannabis and other drugs class A's.
Yeah.
It's they're talking all this bollocks when things like cocaine has never been more prevalent. Like I've got mates that are still in the normie scene and they don't go out drinking anymore. They're out on the sesh.
Yeah.
So they'll have a few bits of coke, you know what I mean? Oh, just on the night, you know what I mean? I'm not doing it in my kitchen or
It don't
anything.
matter, yeah.
Like when I'm out, it's not. I don't do drugs, and I still don't think we should end the war on drugs. And so, but do you know the people that are exploited and the suffering and the bullshit that goes along for you to get your little bit of sniff on a Friday? Like
And
it's
the sad thing
hypocrisy.
is
That's
that
what bothers me.
society dictates. I mean, look at everybody in society throughout the world. We as a human race need some form of mind stimulation or some form of stimulation, i.e., coffee, tea, alcohol, tobacco, crack, smack, whatever the fuck you want to take. We as a human race need some form of release. And we shouldn't have to. The world should be that fantastical, that we should be just like that all the time. But we shove that much shit in the spaces that we need all these things to make the world be like that. And it doesn't need to be like that. And it doesn't need to be like that.
100%. I've said for years that in the perfect society, heroin would be sold at every street corner shop, but so few people would take it.
Yeah, not interested.
You would take it here and there. You'd maybe want the experience here and there, like I said, but it also then wouldn't be a cyclical thing that you'd fall into it. And like I said, that would become the only pleasure of life.
I've actually done this, if you will, I won't say a social experiment, but I've worked on this on my own life. My children, I have not, don't get me wrong, I've not flaunted cannabis, but I have not hidden cannabis. I don't smoke in front of my children, but I also, when I smoke tobacco, I didn't smoke tobacco in front of my children. I just don't believe anything should be smoked in front of a child. But what I'm trying to get to is that I have been so open that it's now become a normality. My children see me smoking or using cannabis as absolutely normal. And that is what I wanted to achieve. I didn't want anything else. And my missus she's a paediatric nurse. She's been a paediatric nurse for 30 years, and she's, you know, you shouldn't be doing this in house, and you shouldn't be doing. I said, well, for one, I'm in a vented room that goes. I'm in a completely different room from everybody else. It goes vented and straight outside. I said, and two, you're sat drinking a glass of wine in front of my children. What's the difference? There is no difference. You know what I mean? Especially if you're not burning and there's no smoke, then there's no argument at all. I don't think so. My point of it is, it should be normal. It should just be bloody normal for people to do whatever the fuck they want to do. You know what I mean?
100%. And I think then if the point of government is for anything, it's to provide safety net. So it's like cars. We invented cars. There was no roads. There was no seatbelts. The glass would smash and slit people's throats.
Yeah.
Like there was no suspension, no active power steering. There was nothing. Then they were like, all right, people are going to continue to drive. Fuck, let's spend money creating infrastructure to make it safer. And that used to be the human approach. A new novel behavior would be discovered. People would go, oh, crap, loads of people are doing this. Let's regulate it. Very rarely were things truly outright criminalized. And where they were, it was always a system of classist and elitism, where it's like, oh, grave robbing's illegal. But when we do it to do dissections and charge people fucking a tuppence or whatever it was to come see it, that's fine. You know what I mean?
You can see the problems in society with prison. Prison was for reform. You're meant to reform criminals to be released into society, to be nice people. It's no longer that in prison. Prison just locks you the fuck up, throws you away, and that's a lot. We don't even... I mean, it's privatised and there's hardly anybody on them wings anymore. So society's been lost. Western society, I would say, has been lost. It's gone.
It's the consequence of Reaganomics and Thatcherism. So Thatcher standing at the pulpit in Parliament and going, you know, deregulation to the max is the best thing for industry. We're living through the end of that. Yeah. We have allowed those people to go, wait, but no, but if to kill 10,000 kids, so yeah, but a billion. 10,000 kids, a billion. Let's make the billion. Do you know what I mean? It's like they don't give a fuck. Everything is just a statistic. Everything is just a number. Exactly. It's not real to them. The thing that's real to them is, yeah, but do I get a Ferrari at the end of this? Do I get my 10 million bonus? Do I get? And
What
like you
do I
said,
get?
we
Yeah.
were talking about narcissism before. It's because that's our idols. We don't have people. Even you look at a footballer. Why are people looking at footballers? Because they make so much money. Why do people look up to YouTubers? Because they make so much, or Slither, they make so much fucking money. It's
Yeah.
we are drawn to that money not because of the it's security ultimately, but there's something in us as should be as animals. We're vulnerable to life. We need stuff to make us safe. Ergo, we need food, so we need a certain amount of food. We need shelter
Yeah.
from the elements, so we need a certain size shelter. Well, as I being turned up to 11 under this neoliberalist capitalist nightmare over the past 40 odd years. And this is the end result of it, of just a slither of the most psychopathic people brought them and theirs up and that cronyism and corruption. And they then changed all the rules and all the laws to make sure none of us ever could get up again, but then turned the game up to 11 and started taking away resources. And it's a game of musical chairs where the music doesn't stop, but there's no fucking chairs.
Yeah, it's like medicine. Once a day, we'd have all been able to go out into the woods, into the wild, and pick his own medicine, pick his own stuff to make us better. But no, they said no. We'll fill the ground full of pesticides. We'll kill off everything that's good for you, and we'll make medicine for you to take in a tablet form. But we'll sell it you. So
that commodification of
resource,
yeah.
All natural resources have just been taken away, and it's just been taken away. You know what you can do about it, but
I mean, we're living that in cannabis right now. I mean, can't remember the Latin name for it, but the poppy plant. That one species went from being, the elixir of the gods, what was it, the sleep-inducing milk and all of these things. The way it was described of a very useful.
The lotus plant in the Egyptian hieroglyphs, the lotus plant is there. Prevalent, people using it,
Well, yeah, and so the knowledge is then lost because then with the lie again is that pure drugs, clean powders, and safe doses, and and we've researched and and all this illusion of safety it's con men. It's just confidence. That's all it is they've sold us this lie. I'm well spoken in my suit, and oh my god, this guy must know some shit. You should go and deal with this because I don't even know what word you just said there, mister. And they create their own language and their bollocks, and it's just a dance to their own beat, and it's corrupting the rest of humanity because then everyone is going, yeah, but if I just fuck everybody over, maybe I could do it. That's why so many people have gambling issues, is they're going, if I can just get to that level, then
they all
everything
want for
changes.
more, don't they? They all want for more. Everybody wants for more. I suppose. I mean, I want for more. I'm not no different than anybody else.
But you'll be realistic within it. There isn't a part of you that would then. I read something the other day of, was it in the UK? Was it in America? A lassie like stabbed 3 other fucking kids, and then she said to the cops, "Well, that's one way to get famous." And again, it's like the youth associate now because they've seen this mechanism, right? Famous somebody random does something insane, becomes like that Hawk girl. Literally talking about giving a blow job on a street interview. Now she's got the 3rd most downloaded podcast in the world, and it's like, what?
Society's
what the fuck? But the kids see that and they think now everybody's recording on the street. Now everything is this game and everything is justifiable until they get the one bit of content that makes them go viral. So
I'm not gonna lie,
justify the means to them,
I'm not gonna lie. One thing that's put me off as well of videoing in cannabis events is that you walk about cannabis events now and there's another fucking 10 people videoing at cannabis events, and I just thought, wow, because I'm not going to lie, you can see colour of my hair. I'm not a young lad, and it's in my own head. I thought, would they actually still keep listening to me? When I thought about bringing my channel back this year, I thought, would people actually still listen to me and take me on board? Now I had a really good conversation. I was in Manchester the other week, and Adidas had set up a bit of a skate park, and I knew a few lads there that own the dabbing cabin in Manchester, and they were there, so I went napping with them, and there were a few young ones there, 20-odd-year-old lads and that, and I was asking them, what do you find so appealing about Drew? Drewish here, and I said, what do you find so appealing about him? I said, because on YouTube I just see a lot of shorts, and they said, Denzel, I don't think you realise we've all got ADHD nowadays. Our attention span is no longer than a minute. And I thought, wow. He said, when you're doing your videos at 20 minutes on a review, we're fucking bored out of his heads. And I thought, wow, things are changing. The younger generation are changing. You know what I mean? Which they will do, won't they? They all do. Everybody does. They're all like me, then we'll be fucked.
Yeah, it goes in cycles. I will admit, because I've been busy with the events the past couple of months, and with the hemp garden project, I haven't been producing shorts and clips from the podcast, and my numbers have gone down several thousand. Like the difference is dramatic.
Yeah.
But
I do like a
and
short and a clip. I do a short and a clip, but I don't just do a short and a clip. I'll do
well, yeah,
both
you
now.
you want to direct them towards the
Yeah.
main video, and this is
Yeah.
what I say. I'm producing my podcast isn't to go viral and massive. Like, and that's not. It would be nice if it continues to grow, which it does.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that, but I'm not trying to go every week thinking how can I get bigger and bigger. It's not. I just want to
Yeah.
have real conversations with real people that document the scene, so that in time people can go back to this as a chronology and actually go, well, no, here's the interview with that guy here talking about that thing, so that nobody in the future can whitewash history and say, well, I invented this thing. It'd be like, no, 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 no. Here, this episode, this guy is the
And
guy
it's,
that
I
did the
think
thing.
I think it's also good as well. People see me on my YouTube channel being a dick, messing about, and it's nice to have a proper conversation. I am a serious person as well, and I do have lots and lots of thoughts about this scene, and I do look into this scene, and I do again for the last, at least. I've travelled around the world looking for this plant, hunting for this plant. Africa, South America, Asia. I've travelled the world looking for this plant. It is my life. It has been my life for many years. And again, I don't know where the fuck I was going with that. But oh no, that's it. But I hope people that haven't known me in this light do again, get to see me in another light, get to see me in a real light. And Simpa's putting this out there for you. You're getting to see other people in a real light. You're putting a real conversation out there. This is not me trying to make anybody laugh.
I'm sure you have anyway.
Yeah, I hope so. But you know what I mean? This is a real conversation. This is a conversation of realness. So
yeah, it's how we'd be chatting if we were together.
Yeah,
there'd be maybe a few more expletives, but other than that, it's what
and
I enjoy.
A few more dabs. I've realised I forgot my blowtorch. That's why I haven't had a dab.
Well, we'll wrap up shortly and let you get to your dabs. But yeah, no, I appreciate that because that's exactly what I want. It's same with I've had some quite big name people on, and when I get them on,
yeah, I watch
it's different conversation that you'll see them anywhere else, because partly because of my neurodivergency, but also because it's how I'd want to be and how I would act if it was just me and them having that intimate chat. And I think, like I said, it's a good insight into people that you can't portray yourself. Do you know what I mean? So when you do your own video, you act into a certain way, but you speak almost clearer in a certain way. You want to look in a certain way. There's certain ways that you act. Whereas what I try and create with this podcast is here's 2 hours of us just dossing around.
Yeah, I mean, we've spent time in Spain, in Cannabis, haven't we? We've spent time in each other's company. Mm-hmm. But like you just said there, we are being real, but you're not having a full conversation about realness. You're not going in depth, are you? You're smoking. When you're at Cannabis, or when we're doing things, when we're at events and we're being the person who we are at the events. But when you sit down and have a full, real conversation with somebody, which I don't think happens enough nowadays in this world, I think people don't sit down and talk about their inner self and what they actually do think, because people don't know, my political views and my things, what go on. Even though my political views nowadays are fucking zero, because I'm an hardcore anarchist, and I just think they're all bastards. But other than that, I'm just saying you're seeing the real me, is what you're saying. You're getting a real conversation with Simpa here.
Yeah, it's what I like, because as the guest, you can kind of control some elements to it. And I really try and put very little restrictions or boundaries at all on any, and I think that shines through in the content. And like I was saying before, that the numbers are irrelevant to me more than the access that I get to the people, because I think both parties always learn something every week, let alone the audience then getting an insight into somebody else.
I've sat down for a good few hours. Don't get me wrong, I might not sit down for the full 2 hours, but I'll pause it, fuck off, go and do something, come back and finish other half and stuff like that. And some conversations that you've had, fantastic, man. Fantastic. You're doing a good job. Keep it up. That's what I'd say.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate it. I do feel bad for my audience past few weeks. Like I said, I've been a bit laxed with past few episodes, but Yeah, going into winter, I think we're going to have some good time. I think it's quite difficult as well with a lot of guests to pin them down because, as you said before, it's not anything really of any great benefit. They can advertise like what they're doing and talk about what they're doing, as it were, but there's a lot of guests I've had either get cold feet last minute or are just basically like, I can't sit for 2 hours with you. Like, do you know what I mean? Not in an offensive way, but just
Now
in that I
I'm
just
just gonna
do you
take.
know what
I'm
I
just
mean?
gonna actually take a screenshot because I'm gonna be sharing it. Get my hand out of the way. Go on, but that's the one. Yeah, I can't get my bloody hand out of the way. There we go.
Love
That's
it.
my thumbnail. You see, that's for advertising Simpa's content. And that's what we
Yeah,
need.
appreciate. Yeah, I think like you said, the answer to all of it is to rebuild the community and the culture, but with humility and awareness. Not everybody is in it for the right reasons, but that
No,
isn't to say we shouldn't trust anybody. You know,
as we said earlier, there's a lot of good people out there.
a lot of good people. So if you're thinking about joining the culture, as it were, people out there, newbies, get yourself on Instagram. That is the
Come and say hello.
majority space. Um, work out your verification and figure out how to handle yourself with the etiquette. You know, that's a big thing in this culture, in this community. You can be accepted and talk about anything you want, but there are certain ways of acting and speaking that may put certain people's backs up.
Yeah,
I see this all the time at events when somebody will come over and nudge me and go, "Oh, they're a Fed," and it's just a normie that doesn't know how to ask
yeah,
about something. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So yeah, observe, learn, and then participate. People, we want to grow. We don't want to become an insular space. Yeah, exactly. And we learn from each other. We grow from each other. So I hope this has inspired you to check out some of Denz's content. I hope it's
Please
inspired
do.
you
Please
to.
do over.
I'll include plenty of links below. So where can people find you? Where's best?
Instagram, Doctor Denz. Facebook, Doctor Denz. YouTube, Doctor Denz. But that's about it for me. I'm an older gentleman and I don't want to fill my life full of social media. I have a life to lead beyond internet, basically. So,
No, but I get that. There are too many platforms these days.
I'm a family man. I am a family man at the end of the day. I do like my family.
Exactly. You're busy. You're busy. Okay, last final question then, I guess, is my old cliche question. What does the future hold for you?
Who can tell with what's going on at the minute?
Yeah.
It could be over next week. I don't know. I do not know, and I don't live for the future, if you know what I mean. I live day by day, mate. I cherish my past. I cherish the life that I've had and realise that I'm a fucking lucky bastard with the people I know, the people I love, and where I live. I am so lucky. The future, as long as it's healthy and the people around me are happy, I'm good. That's all I need out of life. I don't need nothing else out of life. I just want people to be smiling. Good energy. Good energy. That's the future. Good energy.
No, I like it. I like it. I think that's a very good answer. Yeah, brilliant. Appreciate you taking the time, brother.
Hey, it's been a pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure, Simpa. Every fucking second of it. Really has. Loved it.
No, likewise, likewise. All right, I will let you get off. I'll do some housekeeping and I will tag you in some stuff probably later on today when this goes out.
Come on, Simpa.
All right, take it easy.
I'm dying for a piss.
All right. You can go now. Get yourself a dab as well. You dabbing and pissing at the same time.
Yeah. Top man, Simpa. Absolute pleasure, mate. You
take it easy, brother. You too, man. Peace and love. Bye. Well, there you go, folks. That was Dr. Denz. Hope you enjoyed that episode and that conversation. I didn't really get around, I don't think, to any of the news things that I wanted to talk about, but I didn't write them down, so I assumed that I would remember them, and I've clearly forgot them. So yeah, maybe we'll get around to that next week. If there is a next week, not that I'm doomsaying, but things are a bit tense in the world right now, and yeah, if you've studied your history and you understand the domino effect of country X does country Y, does country A, does country B. Yeah, you can see why there's some, marginal reasons to be concerned. But on a positive note, yeah, if you enjoyed Dr. Denz, do check out his content. We'll in the links below. He's a good laugh, he is. You'll enjoy his stuff. Like I said, it's only about 20 minutes long. So if you can stomach my content at its long format, you'll definitely be able to digest all of Dr. Denz in one go. Yeah, really appreciate you folks as always swinging by. Like I said, I'm trying to get back into the swing of things into the autumn and the winter, booking up guests for the next several weeks. So hopefully going to get these out thick and fast here. Going to try and get back to Monday releases. I do have a few projects I'm trying to finish and finalize at the minute, but hopefully they will come to fruition quite quickly so I can get back to focusing on, as I was alluding to earlier, so producing some clips and some shorts and bringing in some new eyes to this project so we can, widen our remit and our reach. Yeah, if you really enjoyed this, please do give us a like, a share, a thumbs up, a rating, whatever it is you do on your platform to show appreciation. I appreciate you for doing so. If you really, really liked it, check us out on patreon.com/Simpa Life, where for less than a cup of coffee a week, you can help me keep the lights on this little project of mine. Check out simpalife.com for a back catalogue of content. Check out Legacy Culture as well for some new articles that are being produced by myself and Tyler Green of I Smoke Notoriety. Yeah, be good to each other. Get out and enjoy the fucking nature around us. It's mushroom season. I'm not saying go and pick some magical mushrooms, but there may happen to be some laying around if you just go to the right spots. But yeah, enjoy the autumn, folks, or the start of autumn. We'll be back next week with, I don't know, somebody. Be awesome. You'll love it. All right, peace and love, folks. Catch you next week.